Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I think in the draft, the Browns, like in football, I'm old-fashioned. It's one of the trenches. They better get some offensive linemen. Second of all, they better find somebody who can draft. There's only thing Andrew Berry could do in a draft is catch a cold. Look at his draft record, 22, 23, and 24. He stinks.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Brad, we were talking a little bit about this before the show. You can point out to a lot of misses from a lot of different guys. Now, the draft everybody points to with John Dorsey, he had the first, fourth. He missed on the 33rd pick, which was Austin Corbett. That was pretty bad. And then he hit with Nick Chubb at 39. Andrew Berry has, and again, it has, Andrew Berry traded the first-round picks, but he hasn't had the first-round picks. Go and look at John Dorsey's second draft. He had Greedy Williams as a second-round pick. I think it was Taki, Sheldrick, Redwine. Yeah. It looks a lot like the drafts everybody's complaining about. He did draft JOK and Grant Delpit in the second rounds. DeJuan Jones, fourth round. We used to point to Martin Emerson in the third round. The criticism that he hasn't identified a wide receiver, it's pretty accurate. Tillman might change that. We'll see.
Yeah, Tillman is intriguing. Since Cooper is gone, his play has been exceptional, and he looks like he could be a guy. And that's, once again, a big, if he does pan out, and it looks like he has because he's really expanded his route tree. He's a guy that seems to have the right attitude about what's going on, and putting his effort in to grow his game and get better coming from an offense at Tennessee where he was very limited in what he did as a wide receiver. But he's expanded on that, and he's looked really good in the last, 3 weeks, right? So short sample size, got to see more, but there's some promise there. There's no excuse for the misses at wide receiver with Berry, and I'm not going to make excuses for a lot of the misses. I will say there is kind of a little bit of a shift for me. So you have DeJuan Jones, Isaiah McGuire, who looks like
he can play.
His PFF grades are great, and he's going to step into a bigger role now that Z is gone as well.
Alex Wright?
Cam Mitchell.
Alex
Wright. And you have Cam Mitchell and Tillman, plus the UDFAs of Hickman and Diabate, all in like the last 2 years. Not this, I think that was 2 years ago draft, all in 2 years ago draft. Now, they did take Siaki Ika in that draft, which is a disaster, and we knew that from the second they took the card up and announced his name. But
Wills is a big
miss.
Wills is a miss at 10. You can't. You can't. If you're drafting in the top 10, there's a reason, and you can't miss on those.
Can't. Those have got to be automatic, and that one hurts probably one of the worst of his selection. So he has had some hits. He has some guys like you mentioned, JOK, Delpit, that are part of this young core. But he has some misses too that needed to be hits. It's a mixed bag. Do they probably need to, they need to tinker with the approach a little bit? They're always doing that. So I think he's trying to improve always. I don't think he should be fired personally. I know a lot of people feel differently. But I would like to see him go forward. He is thought of incredibly high around the NFL and NFL circles. If he was fired from here, he would have a job very shortly after.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I flip-flop on this with him and Stefanski because you expected to be a Super Bowl contender and you've won 2 games. It hadn't gone well, but again, let's see if you can get your job when you got the extension. I've said this. You were mediocre. You made the playoffs when you don't. Your job is to be a consistent playoff team. So far, year 1 after the extension, you felt really, really incredibly, like the bottom of a bottomless pit, short of reaching what you needed to do this year if you're Stefanski and Berry. And I think they realize that.
Yeah. Here's my issue with that. I think so much of this, and you can put this on Berry, right, and Stefanski. You can put it on the organization, but so much of that has to do with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
So much of that has to have with him coming out and being all-time level bad at quarterback.
Yeah.
that none of us saw that coming, right? Like, he had been not great, but to fall to the levels of play that he fell to this season, I didn't see coming at all. And so that made it impossible for them to win and be successful this year until he got hurt. So
Yeah.
it was too late at that point.
And you redid the offense to try to play to his strengths, which makes it even more concerning because you went away from an offense that was pretty effective.